Hi, this is Rick, and welcome to Astral Club. Today's video is sexy and weird astral projection techniques. There's 5 astral projection techniques that I'm going to talk about here, and I've successfully tried 3 of them. The other 2 I'll talk about because it's been reported to me by students and commenters that they have worked for them in the past. Number 1, lucid dreaming. What is a lucid dream? A lucid dream is a typical average dream that you suddenly become aware that you're actually dreaming. And once you become aware of that fact, you now have complete and total control over the dream environment. You can do anything you like. You can enjoy this dream, or you can decide to use it as a vehicle for astral projection. How do you do that? Well, I found that the sensation of falling while wishing to leave your body in an astral projection works ideally. What I'll typically do is I'll manifest a cliff and jump over it. I've driven off of this cliff. Sometimes it'll be a high building and I'll jump off of the roof. And as I'm falling, I wish to leave my body. And there's usually a period of unconsciousness, and then suddenly I find myself outside of my body. I've used this numerous times in the past, and of everything here, this is probably the most unusual technique that I've used often in order to get out of my body. Number 2, this is asking your higher power, your guardian angel, your guide, whatever you want to call it, to take you out of your body consciously. Now, full disclosure, I have never used this method, probably because I'm somewhat introverted. I also tend to be very individualistic. I don't like asking others for help. But it has been reported to me that folks have used this successfully. So what do? Before they go to sleep at night, usually repeatedly, they ask in a prayer or any other way that you'd like to for this entity to help you. Now, some advice I will give you is if you're going to do this, make sure that you have the purest of goals and desires in mind. Because if you are going to do this, you want to make sure you attract the right type of entity. And if you have any type of selfish or other desires that you're looking to accomplish, you'll probably attract the wrong entity that will help you accomplish those. So try to be pure and look for ways to help others rather than yourself. And once again, be cautious. Never fully trust anyone or anything that you don't know on the astral plane. And I think that's a pretty good piece of advice for the physical plane as well. Number 3, take another out of their body. I can't tell you how many people have invited me, a stranger, into their bedrooms to take them out of their bodies. I'll give myself half credit for accomplishing this one. My daughter, when she was much younger, asked me to take her out of her body and on an astral projection. I did it quite easily. We had a very interesting adventure together. But when she woke in the morning, she only had vague memories of a dreamlike situation where we flew over our neighborhood street. The reason for this is because she wasn't conscious. I took her out, and she was in an unconscious state. And as much as I would like to say, hey, here's a good shortcut, just have somebody experienced take you out, and you don't have to worry about consciously astral projecting yourself. It just doesn't work. It's not a shortcut that really is going to work for any length of time or in any way, shape, or form. If you want to astral project consciously, you're going to have to do it yourself. You're going to have to learn to do it for yourself. Okay, these next couple techniques I'm going to call mature 18 plus. So if you're not 18, you should go play a video game now or whatever it is kids do. If you decide to stay, well, I warned you. What am I supposed to do? Okay, number 3. Sex, thirst, and hunger. Creating desires or physical stresses in your physical body can help you to astral project. I got this idea when I was reading a book about survival of an individual who got lost in a sandstorm, and he was stuck in this desert trying to find his way out. He was dying of dehydration. He finally collapsed on some sand dune and became unconscious. Soon he found himself flying overhead and happened upon a small pool of water, not that far from where his body had fallen. Now, that happens in the desert. There's sometimes very localized storms, and for a short period of time, there'll be little pools of water. Well, he awoke thinking what a strange dream that was, but he decided to check it out, and sure enough, the water was actually there. The book itself didn't comment anymore, just considered it an odd circumstance. But I thought this was an astral projection, and it was induced because there was this intense desire, this intense thirst that the physical body could not satisfy. So the astral body was essentially ejected and went out looking for some way to satisfy this thirst. Now, naturally, the astral body itself couldn't pick up the water, but it still felt this desire to try. Okay, the first subcategory here is sexual desires. That is also a desire of the physical body. When I was in college, my girlfriend lived off campus, so we could only be alone together on the weekends. I would refrain from pleasuring myself for a few days. Now, when you're 18 or 19, it doesn't take that long for certain urges to build up. With my girlfriend's permission, I would use this sexual tension or stress to astral project to her room off campus. We had one very memorable co-astral projection experience. She was an amateur projector, if you will. She'd had some experiences. However, most of the time she was asleep and in an unconscious state, so I would just leave her room and enjoy a typical astral projection. I noticed that this particular way of increasing astral projections worked for me quite a bit in my college days. Hunger and thirst. Now, naturally, we're all acquainted with hunger and thirst and how they can really affect you. They can affect your well-being, your thoughts. I decided to experiment based on that story I told you about the man lost in the desert. I denied myself water for a whole day. And at night, when I went to bed, I put a tall, cool glass of water on the kitchen counter and then went off to sleep. About a half an hour later, I found myself trying to grab this glass of water, watching my astral hand slide through the glass over and over. Once I realized I had successfully astral projected, I then went on an adventure. Hunger works much the same way. Naturally, we've all heard stories of holy men who have fasted for many days and then experienced a wide variety of psychic phenomena. I'll just make one little short note here. Please don't overdo depriving yourself of water or food, or you may find yourself permanently astral projecting. Lastly, I have DMT. Now, this is very hard to pronounce. I think many of you might know what DMT is. If not, you can look it up in the dictionary. It's dimethyltryptamine. DMT is a hallucinogenic tryptamine drug that occurs naturally in many plants and animals. I have never used this drug, or indeed any drug, to astral project, but I'm talking about it now because it has been reported to me that people have used it and used it successfully. And also native tribes have used this substance successfully over many, many centuries to have their dream walking experiences. It's also referred to as a spirit molecule due to a very intense psychedelic experiences that people can experience. Now, it's somewhat lesser known than other psychedelics like LSD or magic mushrooms, but I'm told it produces very intense visual and auditory hallucinogenic experiences. This is one way of explaining things like astral projections. As I said, it's used in religious ceremonies, and it has deep spiritual significance in many tribes in South America and in other parts of the world. Once again, I have never used this particular method to astral project. I want to warn you that DMT is a Schedule I controlled substance in the United States. That means that it is illegal to manufacture, buy, possess, or distribute such drug. So don't run around saying Rick told you to do this, because I don't want to go to prison any more than you do. If you want to experiment with this, then maybe you should go down to South America and hook up with some tribe down there where it can be used legally. However, I consider this channel as an educational channel, and as such, this is something that I thought I would cover because it is indeed an unusual way people have used to astral project. I want to thank everybody. The channel is growing, and it is your help and your support that is making that possible. If you like this video, like and subscribe, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye now.